USA, is there a reason the government doesn't just tell people what they owe in taxes? I saw the joke again today. The government makes us guess what we owe while they know the answer. And it got me wondering if that is an oversimplification, or if there is a reason besides greed or tradition that they would have a system like this. The government doesn't know about our side gigs, like landlording or gambling or Etsy stores. Government knows wages from reporting forms, however. It cannot know the net profit, if any, from a business. It would need to know gross receipts, cost of goods sold, business expenses, etc. The tax form instructions tell you how much you owe. If all you have is W-2 income, you can do your taxes in a couple of minutes. The W-2 tells you how much you made, how much you paid, and the 1040 instructions tell you how much you owe. Is it really that hard? For other types of income, the reporting is pretty simple too, but it's the credits and deductions that take time. Yes, Intuit and TurboTax lobbied the government to keep it this way, so people have to pay for software to keep filing things they aren't aware of. Unreported income. So to work, I mean Intuit, they own TurboTax, has lobbied over $3 million a year for the last 3 years. And that's just what I looked up. I just feel like THT doesn't help. Australia does this. But our taxes are far simpler. The states don't tax income, so it's just one federal return. There was a podcast, either Planet Money or Freakonomics, that speculated that certain political parties want taxes to be difficult, so that people would conflate their annoyance with doing their taxes with paying their taxes, and therefore vote for whichever party promises tax cuts. The government doesn't know every exact detail, so it's easier to ask people to file on their own. Because then we wouldn't have to hire accountants to file our taxes for us. Think HR Block and such. They have lobbyists. Also, the IRS is technologically very behind the times, underfunded and overwhelmed. In Sweden they do. It takes about 1 meter to do it online, so it's a choice your government is making. The anti-tax politicians want you to have a painful, difficult time doing your taxes and calculate a big number, so you vote to reduce taxes and defund the IRS. If the IRS did all the work for you and the tax came out of your paycheck, most people would never know their total tax bill, cause most people never look at their payslip deductions. Also, TurboTax and other tax software companies lobby to prevent the IRS for offering free tax services, so they keep the business. The idea that the government shouldn't compete with businesses rings true with lots of U.S. voters. Lobbyists from tax agencies, software and prep. This would require the government to track any and all transactions you made in life. Currently, they don't know if you are selling nudes on the street corner as your side gig, so they don't know how much to tax you. They tell us the particulars. We tell them how much we owe. They agree or not. The other way around has them way too far up in my business. Because tax prep companies, whose existence would be all but snuffed out by such a thing, spend ungodly amounts of money lobbying Congress to prevent that from happening. And all the tax prep companies and tax software companies lobby heavily against it. Is this supposed to just be an American sub? In my country, the government files tax returns for you, but you can amend it. Tax filing is a massive business. Businesses are allowed to lobby the government and make campaign contributions. These campaign contributions and lobbying efforts grease the wheels, so to speak, and so taxes stay unnecessarily complicated. I see a lot of comments about the government does not know everything, which is kinda true. In New Zealand, we get a statement from the government based on what they do know, i.e. my wages, salary. They send that to me. If that is everything, I just press the file button. If I have other things, rental properties, side hustles, OnlyFans or whatever, I can adjust the return. So for a huge of people it's easy, cheap and hassle-free. And for others, it's a good start. The government knows how much 90% of tax filers owe. The IRS should simply contact this segment of the population each year and say this is what we believe you owe. If you think it's wrong, then contact us. I guarantee 90% of that 90% will be okay with it. As others have mentioned, lobbying by TurboTax and other entities that make money in the tax return process is why this doesn't exist. Government doesn't necessarily know about all your income sources, especially illegal ones. So, it wants you to declare everything, including income from illegal activity, to make sure you don't omit any. They don't let you know what they know. Tax law is purposefully complicated to prevent people from being able to file their taxes on their own. This is due, in large part, to lobbying efforts by the tax preparation industry. The other reason is lobbyists for corporations and the mega-rich to avoid paying taxes. Because they don't know, due to our complicated tax code. In other countries, the governments send you an already filled-in form with everything they know. If you need to change something, you can, or you can just sign. In the USA this isn't done because companies like TurboTax lobbied the government for a lot of concessions. Originally they were providing free file to a lot of people in return. But most companies have partially or totally pulled out of the program. They know what your income is and what you owe in tax, but that's not the whole picture. They don't know your deductions, donations, expenses, etc. They don't know. Audits are expensive. To tell you what you owe, they'd need to audit everyone all the time every year. Because a very rich company wouldn't be so rich if they didn't lobby the government to complicate taxes so you feel you need to pay someone for help. We use the tax code to modify behavior of most of the population and to reward specific groups of insiders. Its complexity is a result of the political process. It's not all bad, but the gaming of the system, human nature, makes it seem almost indecipherable. It's because of lobbying by companies providing tax services. This is a valid point for people with one job. Standard payroll deductions who take only the standard deduction. Taxes could be done with about 5 questions. Grover fucking Norquist, he's made every Republican sign a pledge not to raise taxes. Your idea came close a few years ago, until Grover said that would be interpreted as a tax raise, so Republican support vanished. For somewhere above 50% of the population, the government knows exactly what would be on their tax forms and could just do their taxes for them. Tax firms should really only be for the wealthier portion of the population that has investments, owns a business, has done type of side gig where their income and expenses are not already reported on government firms that also get sent to the IRS. There is no good reason to tell the IRS what is on the W-2, 1099, etc. forms that were already filed with the IRS. If you avoid the whining and anti-America biased, you'll find that the US does taxes very similarly to every other country. Because CPAs lobby to keep it complex so they can keep raking in big bucks. The biggest companies lobbying for this are HR Block and TurboTax. TurboTax lobbied for that so they could profit. They have to give the people that are in the 1% time to get their accountants to find loopholes and transfer to offshore accounts. It takes time to commit tax fraud when you make a certain amount of cash. Lobbying by tax software companies.